There's a law in this world that men keep forgetting. The second you beg, you give away your power. It doesn't matter if you're begging for her love, begging for their approval, begging for attention, respect, validation, or a second chance. The moment you beg, you've already lost. Because begging is not asking. Begging is submission. Begging is declaring, you own me. And the man who kneels for what he should command becomes a shadow of himself. You think begging will get you what you want? It might. You might get the text back. You might get the apology. You might get the job offer. You might get her to stay. But you won't get it for free. Because when you beg, the price is always the same. Your dignity. You hand over your self-respect like it's worthless. You tell the world, what I want is more valuable than who I am. And when you do that, you don't just lose respect from others. You lose respect for yourself. Let's talk about women for a second. The moment you beg her to stay, you've already lost her. She doesn't leave because you weren't good enough. She leaves because you became predictable, desperate, weak. You begged because you believed she was oxygen. But you forgot you were the fire. Fire doesn't chase air. Air chases fire. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to fight for someone who walks away. Because the truth is brutal and clean. If she can leave, let her. If they can betray you, bless them and bury them in silence. You never lose what was truly yours. You only lose what was meant to teach you. Begging turns kings into clowns. Look at your life. Every time you begged, did you win? Or did you just buy temporary peace at the cost of permanent respect? Think about it. The boss who didn't value you, but you begged to keep your job. The friend who disrespected you, but you begged for their approval. The woman who lost interest, and you begged her to love you again. What happened? You didn't get back what you lost. You just lost yourself. Because begging rewires your soul to accept crumbs. It trains your mind to believe you need permission to exist. It kills the masculine energy that builds empires, and replaces it with dependence. Understand this. When you beg, you're telling the universe, I'll trade my identity for scraps. And the universe responds, so be it. That's why weak men stay weak. They beg for jobs instead of building skills. They beg for love instead of building value. They beg for help instead of becoming the help. But strong men? Strong men never beg. Not because of pride. Not because of ego. But because they understand this law. Anything you have to beg for was never yours. So what's the alternative? When life turns cold. When people betray you. When the world shuts the door in your face. You don't beg. You build. You bleed. You burn. You turn rejection into fuel. You turn pain into purpose. You turn silence into strategy. Because a man who refuses to beg becomes a man the world can't ignore. The silent man is the most dangerous man. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't chase. He doesn't try to convince anyone to stay. When they walk away, he closes the door. When they doubt him, he doubles down. When they laugh, he smiles. Because he knows, time will expose everything. That's the energy that wins. That's the energy women can't resist. Enemies can't destroy. And the world eventually bows to. But let's go deeper. Why do men beg? Fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of being broke. Fear of being unseen. Fear of failure. So they grip tighter. They plead. They explain. They send the long texts. They chase what's running away. But fear is a liar. It tells you that losing them means losing yourself. It tells you that being rejected means you're worthless. It tells you that you'll never find better. But here's the truth. You don't lose when they leave. You lose when you lose yourself trying to keep them. A man's power lives in his ability to walk away from the deal that insults his value, from the woman who plays games, from the crowd that mocks his grind. Because every time you walk away, you send a message. I will not bleed for scraps. You can love deeply without becoming dependent. You can desire without losing your dignity. You can fight, but never beg. Let me ask you this. What do you think history remembers? The man who begged? Or the man who built? Who do you respect more? The man who crawled back for love? Or the man who turned heartbreak into a kingdom? Do you think empires are built by beggars? Do you think warriors on the battlefield pause to plead for mercy? Do you think the lion apologizes for his hunger? No. Because nature has no sympathy for weakness. And neither does life. Every time you beg, you shrink. You shrink in the eyes of others. You shrink in your own eyes. And that shrinking becomes permanent if you don't stop. But the man who resists, the man who takes the hit, swallows the pain, and stays silent, he expands. He grows. He becomes untouchable. Because every rejection is a redirection. Every closed door is a call to build your own. Every loss is a test. Will you beg, or will you become? Here's the final truth. The moment you beg, you lose. Not because they said no, but because you said, you matter more than me. And that's the ultimate lie. Because nothing should matter more than your self-respect. So remember this. When they leave, let them. When they doubt you, thank them. When they underestimate you, smile. Then go dark. Go build. Go sharpen. Go become so undeniable that silence becomes your loudest response. Because the man who refuses to beg becomes the man they can never ignore.